MLS fans, hope you're having an amazing day. Are you ready for this weekend's unpredictable MLS matches? I'm Oscar Moneyball, and we'll be discussing Match Day 10 using our cutting edge match simulator to help us predict all the scores, the winning probabilities, and goal scoring opportunities for all of these 14 matches. The first one out of all the 14 matches, we have Atlanta United hosting FC Cincinnati. We can see here, if we transition over correctly, yes sir, that Atlanta are the favorites to win this match. Expected goals for Atlanta is 1.9 goals versus FC Cincinnati's 0.9 goals. Win probability 58% versus FC Cincinnati's 18%. Over 0.5 goals, we see here that Atlanta have a very high chance to score at least one goal in this game, 83% versus FC Cincinnati's 58%. Over 1.5 goals for Atlanta United is at 54%. Meanwhile, FC Cincinnati is at a nice 23%. FC Cincinnati, I mentioned this in the previous video, is not having the best season. I think we've all kind of observed that in the past couple of weeks. We see a team that is in need of a striker. Luciano Acosta seems to be carrying a lot of the weight at the moment, and the rest of the team is not focused. This was a team that broke records last season. This was a team that was very exciting to watch, and this season is just the typical MLS downward spiral of teams that do really good and then the next season they do really bad. Atlanta United at home have a really good attacking form, solid defensive form. Although they do allow some goals, maybe we could see Atlanta allowing one goal, at least one goal in this match. It is soccer, it's unpredictable. You can get a PK, it could be a handball, it could be a breakaway, or it also, like I mentioned, it is the MLS, so we can have some defensive mistakes that lead to goals. Match number 2, we have CF Montreal versus Orlando City. Montreal is hosting their second home game this season. It took them so long to get a home game, but they're home and they just beat FC Cincinnati in their first home game this season. They're excited, but we do have a strong Orlando City that, in my opinion, this season so far is a little bit more of a better team than Cincinnati, at least up to match day 10. They have been having their ups and downs. However, they have a really good offense, and Montreal is just an unpredictable team. We have expected goals for Montreal at 1.2 versus Orlando 0.5 goals. So this does look to be a very low scoring match, with the win probability in favor for Montreal at 50%, a coin toss if you want to call it, versus Orlando's 17%. The over 0.5 goals for Montreal is 63% versus Orlando's 37%, and over 1.5 for Montreal is 31%, versus 8%. So it's not looking like this will be a high scoring game. It may not even be all that entertaining, to be quite honest with you, so we move on. Match 3, Columbus Crew hosting Portland Timbers. As I mentioned in the previous video, Portland Timbers are a team that can score goals just as much as they can receive them. Columbus Crew seem to be a solid team, not the team that we recognized from last season. However, they are still a very strong team, and they will be playing at home, which looks very favorable for them. Expected goals for the Crew is 1.5 goals in this match versus Portland's 1.2. Win probability is slightly in favor for the home team, the Crew, to take this game at 45% versus Portland's very low 17%. The over 0.5 goals for the Crew is at a 77%. Meanwhile, Portland has 66% to score at least one goal in this match. Over 0.5 goals for the Crew seems to drop down significantly at 44% versus Portland's 33%. Could also be a high scoring match. Over 2.5, maybe both teams score, and then whoever wins this match will need to score 2 goals. I don't think both of the teams can go at a nice draw here. However, maybe, right? If I'm the Crew and I'm trying to get some points, I'm trying to build up and build that confidence and that relationship with my home fans, I would probably want to keep Portland at 0 goals, keep that clean sheet, and then walk away with a late goal or early goal and manage the game from there. Portland Timbers could be a threat. They're very well coached. They have some really good players. They have players that can score off a set piece as well. So it's going to be a hard job for the Crew to keep that clean sheet. Therefore, I say over 2.5 goals in this match. Both teams to score seems to be a nice little bet for you guys that want to take advantage of that. Match 4, Inter Miami versus Nashville. A very entertaining game because I believe this was the League's Cup final last season, and Inter Miami have a way better squad than they did last year. We have Inter Miami expected goals 3.7 goals versus Nashville 0.8. Damn near a blowout. Win probability for Miami is 69%, very high, probably the highest we've seen so far, versus Nashville's very low win probability of 5%. This could be a nice little underdog story for the Nashville squad. However, they have a very difficult game ahead of them, playing against Messi, Suarez, Busquets, and Tata Martino's a very smart coach. We'll see how they come out in this and take this game. The over 0.5 goals is at a very high 79% for Inter Miami to score at least 1 goal. Nashville, however, is at a 45%. Not that bad. Not that bad. Over 1.5 goals for Inter Miami is at a also very high 70% versus 17% for Nashville. That's not expected to score more than 1 goal at all. How do I take this? How would I play this game? I'd go with Inter Miami over 1.5 goals, or if you want to be safe, just over 1.5 goals between both of them in case Nashville is able to sneak one in. We know for sure that Miami will feel comfortable. They are at home. Messi has taken a couple of weeks off. He did have a goal and assist last game, which he'll probably continue to do. Match 5, New York City hosting DC United. This New York City team looks really good, really entertaining to watch. It feels like a fresh new team compared to what we were observing last season. Same thing with DC United, night and day from what they were last year. And I'm excited to watch this game. I'm excited because New York City seems to be clicking at the moment. And although the expected goals aren't in favor and the win probability aren't in favor for New York City, it is a team I enjoy to watch. Expected goals for New York City is at 1.2 versus DC United's 1.4. The win probability for New York City 33% versus 40% for DC United. The over 0.5 goals is at a 70% and 74% for DC United. I can see both teams to score since we do have very high probabilities for both of these teams despite how low the expected goals are. Over 1.5 goals for New York City is at 35% versus 40% for DC United. This could be a draw. I could see a 1-1, 2-2 game, even 0-0 to be quite honest with you. It would benefit both of these teams to walk away with the draw. It would definitely benefit DC United because they walk away with the point visiting New York City. Meanwhile, New York City continues to also they walk away with the point and they don't lose at home. It seems like a win-win for both of these teams, to be honest with you. Match number 6, Toronto FC hosting New England Revolution. New England Revolution that has just not been the team we've all, I was going to say learned to love. I really enjoyed them last season. They were a high-scoring team at home. They were definitely always scoring, damn near winning all their games at home. Toronto FC, however, were a really, really bad team last season. They seem to be picking up, and they had a really high XG in their previous match. I forgot who they played against, but I believe they lost 3-2. However, they outperformed in the expected goals. So, expected goals for Toronto FC, we have 2.6 versus 0.6 for New England Revolution. The win probability is at 76% versus 6% for New England. Toronto is expected to win this match. They are the favorites. I would wonder what the bet lines are for this match because Toronto is not that great. So I'm sure they're paying really good odds for this game. Over 0.5 goals for Toronto is at a high 87% versus New England's 40% to score at least one goal. Over 1.5 in this game is at 68% for Toronto versus 10% for New England. We'll see how the game plays out. I expect Toronto to take this match very easily. Match number 7, halfway there, guys. Chicago FC versus Real Salt Lake. Expected goals for Chicago 1.4 versus Real Salt Lake's 1.7. Win probability is in favor for the away team with 46% versus Chicago's 29%. Over 0.5 goals, very high between both of these teams. 72% for Chicago to score one goal. Real Salt Lake 81% to score one goal. Scoring over one goal, we see here Chicago at 38% versus Real Salt Lake's 50%. How do I expect this game to go? Definitely both teams to score. Real Salt Lake has a really strong offense. Chicago at home, I don't think they'll walk away without scoring a goal. So both teams to score. I could see this being a very high scoring match. Maybe 3-2. Definitely over 2.5 goals for this one. Match 8, Houston Dynamo versus Austin FC. Texas Clásico. Is that official? I wonder. 0.8 goals for Houston Dynamo versus Austin FC's 0.1 goals. Now I don't want to believe this because Austin FC's games tend to be very high scoring. They tend to score and receive a lot of goals. That, however, is going to be contradicted versus Houston Dynamo's performance. They tend to do really good at keeping a clean sheet at home and are comfortable with winning the game 1-0, 2-0 if they need to. Win probability is in favor for Houston Dynamo that have just been really good this season. 52% versus Austin FC's 2% win probability to win this match. Probably the lowest so far. Over 0.5 goals for Houston Dynamo. 54% versus Austin's 5% to score a goal in this match. The over 1.5 for Houston Dynamo is at a 18%, and Austin FC's over 1.5 is at a 58%. How does that work out? I'm not really sure. We'll have to check that out later on. Moving on, we have another Midwest Classico right there. Sporting Kansas City versus St. Louis City. Not really sure if if they're even from the Midwest. However, Kansas City is hosting St. Louis. I know that that's a huge game for both of these teams. We have Kansas City expected goals at 2.3 versus St. Louis City at 3.0 goals. High scoring game between both of these teams. Win probability 26% versus 40%. Over 0.5 goals. Very high for both of these teams. 71% for Sporting Kansas City versus 76% for St. Louis City. Over 0.5 goals. 50% versus 58% for the away team. Seems like the away team has the edge on all our lines this game, and I would like to see how that plays out because Sporting Kansas City at home is a very solid team. St. Louis, wow, if you take that game, that'd be great. Colorado Rapids, match 10, hosting FC Dallas. An FC Dallas squad that looks unrecognizable from what we were able to see last year. Colorado Rapids as well, another team that has just outperformed their expectations. Expected goals for Colorado is at a 1.0 versus FC Dallas. Expected goals 0.9. Win probability is in favor for Colorado at 36% versus 31%. Very even match since we have both of these teams being in the 30s. Over 0.5 goals for Colorado is at 62% versus 58% for FC Dallas. The over 1.5 goals is 25% for Colorado, 21% for FC Dallas. I don't have much to say about this game other than Colorado Rapids did win 0-3, last game versus San Jose Earthquakes. They were able to walk away from PayPal Park with 3 points. They did, however, receive a lot of threat in their own box. The Earthquakes were able to accumulate a very high XG. I think they outperformed them in XG. So I do expect FC Dallas to score in this match, mostly because of the threat that Colorado Rapids received last game, and walking away without even a goal received is remarkable. I expect FC Dallas to score. That tends to be a pattern that I see when you receive a high XG and you don't get scored on the following game. That tends to be the case. You get scored on and potentially they'll receive 2 goals. Maybe if you want to get risky with it, I'd go FC Dallas over 1.5 goals, just them alone, and FC Dallas to score. Maybe FC Dallas to win the game. Who knows? That would be way too risky, FC Dallas to win that. But it is a very even game. I'm sure that line's going to pay really good. Match 11, LAFC hosting New York Red Bulls. New York Red Bulls having to travel across the country just for this game. LAFC expected goals 1.5 versus New York Red Bulls 0.7. Win probability is in favor for LAFC, 56% versus 18% for New York Red Bulls. Over 0.5 goals in this match, we do see LAFC with a very high 78% versus a coin toss for New York Red Bulls at 50%. Over 1.5 goals for LAFC, we have 45% versus New York Red Bulls 17%. Even game here. I'm sure New York Red Bulls will try to mediate LAFC's offense. New York Red Bulls are a really good team at defending, keeping a clean sheet, fighting in the midfield, and maybe walking away with a goal if they can get an opportunity. I do expect LAFC to score, however, and it may be a late game, a late goal. It may be an early goal. I wouldn't know how to call it, but I do expect LAFC's offense to do their best at hurting the Red Bulls. Following match 12, we have Seattle Sounders wrapping up the Saturday games, hosting Vancouver Whitecaps, who are just one of my favorite teams in the MLS. Expected goals for Seattle is at 0.7 versus 0.8 for Vancouver. Very even game here. As we can see, the win probability for Seattle is at 30%. Meanwhile, Vancouver is at 34% to win this match. The over 0.5 goals is very, very close between both of these teams. Seattle Sounder 52% to score 1 goal. Vancouver 55% to score 1 goal. Over 1.5 goals, however, tends to not be so favorable for any of these teams, for either one of these teams. 17% for Seattle versus 19% for Vancouver. How do I see this game going? Seattle has been scoring a lot in the past couple of games. They did go scoreless in the last game. However, they didn't receive a goal. Vancouver Whitecaps tend to feel comfortable in that colder temperature. They'll probably almost feel at home, or like if they're in summer coming from Canada. I believe Vancouver do have the edge. Seattle will have to play a very smart game to withhold Vancouver's offense. However, Vancouver is a better team at home. We'll see how the game plays out. I expect Vancouver. I'd go with the Vancouver double chance to just protect any bets and add to a parlay if I would need to. Charlotte FC, first game on Sunday for this Matchday 10 slate, hosting Minnesota United. Expected goals for Charlotte is at 2.1 versus 1.5 for Minnesota. Charlotte also have the edge on the win probability with 49% versus 27% for Minnesota. Over 0.5 goals, very high between both of these teams. We have 84% for Charlotte and 74% for Minnesota. Over 1.5 goals is at 58% versus 42%. Charlotte at home have just been really, really strong. There will be a day and a game where they lose and they lose that supremacy at home. Is this the game? Who knows? It's I know for sure they're going to receive a goal. Minnesota is just pretty solid. They're not a bad team. They're not an amazing team. They just get the job done. Charlotte FC at home, I do expect them, if they want to win this game, they do have to score 2 goals. I can't see this game ending 0-1 or 1-0. We'll see, unless Minnesota comes out and parks the bus and is able to walk away with a goal. But I'd say for this game, I wouldn't even call it. I'd feel comfortable with saying that Minnesota will score at the very least. Minnesota will score. The last match on Sunday is LA Galaxy versus San Jose Earthquakes. My San Jose Earthquakes that have just not been having a good season. It was very upsetting to see that game against Colorado. I will be releasing a video going over what I think about the Earthquakes using my match simulator and the data I've been collecting. However, let's talk about this match, an LA Galaxy that looks really solid, an LA Galaxy that can score goals, an LA Galaxy that just beat Vancouver at home 1-3. They have a really good offense. Their 3 up top are sinking. Their striker is consistently scoring, potentially even going for the Golden Boot race, I would say. LA Galaxy expected goals 1.9 versus San Jose Earthquakes 1.8. A game that always gives us both teams to score. This Clásico is as historic as the MLS. It's these two teams have history. These two teams are from California. You have that NorCal versus SoCal mentality. Win probability is in favor, though, for LA Galaxy with 39% versus 37% for the Earthquakes. Over 0.5 goals, very high between both of them. 80% for the Galaxy and 81% for the Earthquakes. You could potentially see the Earthquakes scoring first. Over 1.5 goals in this match, we do see that maybe Galaxy can come back and turn the game around if the Quakes score that first goal first. 52% versus 51% for the Earthquakes. I'm excited to watch that game. It's going to be a game that I'll definitely be drinking a beer and eating some chips while I observe the Galaxy win. I do believe the Galaxy will take the game as they did on the Earthquakes home opener. They just outperformed Galaxy in that game, and at home, I believe they'll do the same. There's no way the Earthquakes can win that game. Well, sure we transitioned. Yes, we did. There you have it. I'm very excited to continue developing my match simulator and inputting data as the weeks go by. We're in match day 10. A lot of teams are pretty much played an even amount of games at home and away. There are a handful of teams that either they played more games at home than they've done away or vice versa. However, the attacking strength for teams at home and away is developing. The defensive strength for teams at home or away is also developing, and it's improving every day, especially as Montreal continues to play a lot more home games. We'll be able to see a better better results. I know it's still early. There's a couple of upsets still. I'm not seeing this MLS being as entertaining as it was last year. There are a lot of teams that are just not fully there yet. There's a lot of great teams that are struggling at the moment, and it's too early, right? There's still a long season ahead. Let's just see how the season goes. Let's see how match day 10 goes. Enjoy your weekend, drink some water, take a shot for your boy Oscar, and hug your loved ones. Have a great weekend. Peace.